started this new book. It's called Sana'atul Aql, which is basically translates to the building the intellect, right? So it's actually interesting when he talks about the author. His whole job is to get you to think better and to develop an intellect that's more effective as a Muslim. And the first chapter is all about how to build your intellect with the Quran. It's actually mind blowing because, and one, it just shows, like, if you was to read this book from a disbeliever, he would just talk to you about how to develop your intellect with regards to, your finances, with this, with that. And the first thing he talks about is how to develop your intellect with the Quran. And his objective is to basically give you a methodology of how to think about ayat and extract lessons for your life. So there's some powerful stuff in there. Like, for example, I just threw some off the top of my dome right now. When it came to the ayah, وَإِذِ اسْتَسْقَىٰ مُوسَىٰ لِقَوْمِهِ فَقُلْنَا اضْرِبْ بِعَصَاكَ الْحَجَرَ. Musa alayhi salam, he begged Allah to give water to the children of Israel, who were his followers, right? To give them water. What's amazing here, he said, notice how he said, وَإِذِ اسْتَسْقَىٰ مُوسَىٰ لِقَوْمِهِ. He said, Allah said that Musa begged Allah for his people to have water. He didn't beg Allah for himself to have water. He said there's a subtle lesson on leadership there, in that a true leader, he exerts all of his efforts to seek the help from Allah for his followers. He does whatever he can whilst relying upon Allah to get the help of Allah for his followers. He puts them before himself. He puts those who he's responsible over before himself. When I read that, I actually felt bad because, me, I actually love French fries there. And I can't lie, I always felt guilty about it as well when I've got my daughter likes French fries too. So if I'm eating and I can see she wants my French fries, I try to finish it before she gets to it. And I always I was like, that's bad, as a dad, I really should put my kid first. So yeah, I think I'm going to implement that after. But no, it's a powerful lesson, man. Anyone who's got a business, you should most definitely go this. Sorry, I'm just getting ready. I'm not just trying to comb my beard for no reason, just to be awkward on camera. But yeah, anyone who's actually a leader, man, like you got a business, you got people under you, you should look out for them before you look out for yourself in your own pockets. Another beautiful lesson in there, that's actually a very beautiful lesson. وَإِذْ يَرْفَعُ إِبْرَاهِيمَ الْقَوَاعِدَ مِنَ الْبَيْتِ وَإِسْمَاعِيلُ. Ibrahim and Ismail, what do? It was just two of them that built the Kaaba, right? They were laying the foundations of the Kaaba. And he said, notice that Ibrahim and Ismail built the Kaaba in a valley that had nothing. It didn't have vegetation, no trees, even it was lacking, water. There was nothing there. It was a barren valley in the middle of the desert around mountains. He said, like that, every major project that's worth doing starts off with two people. And they're usually what? In a barren desert. Metaphorically speaking, he meant, like, for example, no one's going to support you, bro. At the beginning, it's just going to be, like, at the beginning when you're building a business, when you're building a da'wah project, you're building a family where you want to raise your kids upon khair, where there's so much fitna and fasad. It's just you and your wife, just two of you, you and your partner, right? And it's just a barren desert because there's no one else supporting you except for Allah. There's mountains all around. So because every project starts like that. But what happens at the end of it, if you keep pursuing, now look at Mecca. Now look at the Kaaba, right? It's filled with people from all over the world. And there's no loneliness and there's nothing like that there. Another very powerful lesson that he mentioned that really, really hit me for six. Surah Nisa. He said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَرُسُلًا نَمْ نَقْصُصْهُمْ عَلَيْكَ. There's some prophets, Allah said, we told you their stories. These ones that were mentioned, Ibrahim, Nuh, Musa, so on and so forth, right? Alayhim wassalam. وَرُسُلًا لَمْ نَقْصُصْهُمْ عَلَيْكَ. And then there are some prophets, we just never told you their story. We never told you their story. And he said, those were prophets. They're the greatest of people. Yet they are unknown. So then he asked the question, he said, so are you a person who's working hard so that you can build something? Are you working hard so your story could be told? Can't hit me. So are you working hard so you can build something that's beneficial? Or are you working hard so that your story could be told? Like these prophets, no one knows them but Allah. No one knows them but Allah. They're prophets. They're better than even scholars that you and I know. those prophets are better than Ibn Taymiyyah and Imam al-Bukhari. They're better than some Sahaba that we know. And they contributed towards the path that is today what we have, Islam. And we make dua for all of them. And we send salah upon all of them. Yet we don't even know their names. Even the Prophet ﷺ didn't know their names. So he said, what are you working towards? Something great? Or what? Just to be remembered as someone great. So that's deep. That's very deep. Another powerful point he mentioned there. He said the Prophet ﷺ, he never asked Allah, who are those prophets? Which shows that the Prophet ﷺ, what was he doing? His whole thing was just about hearing and obeying and following and transmitting the message. And not to necessarily ask things that are not necessary. But yeah, man, powerful, man, because there are so many people. Understand, there are more people of khair that exist that we don't know than we do know. But the fact that we don't know their name doesn't mean that they're not known with Allah. And the fact that Allah knows them and Allah appreciates what they've done is really what counts, man. So basically, it's a deep book. He's got a whole section. He just goes to the Quran and shows you like how to think in a way where you can reflect on the Quran and allow it to benefit in your life. Another thing he mentioned, which was deep. Another thing was deep. He was saying one of the benefits I took from the Quran is acknowledgement. That acknowledging something, even if it's bad, even if it goes against you. It's powerful. He said, Allah acknowledged something in the Quran that's actually a very, very sad and painful reality. Allah said, وَلَقَدْ صَدَّقَ عَلَيْهِمْ إِبْلِيسُ ظَنَّهُ فَاتَّبَعُوهُ. He said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Iblis, the thought that he had came true. And they followed him. What was the thought that he had? He said, Ya Allah, I'm going to misguide the children of Adam. I'm going to misguide them. In fact, I'm going to misguide the overwhelming majority of them, except for what? Except for a few. I'm going to misguide all of them. Can you imagine how painful the reality that is? Because it's true. And Allah said, it's true. وَلَقَدْ صَدَّقَ عَلَيْهِمْ إِبْلِيسُ ظَنَّهُ فَاتَّبَعُوهُ. Allah said, Iblis, the thought that he had, because it was a thought, he doesn't know the unseen, it came true. And they did follow him. Except for, Allah says, a small group from the believers. That's powerful because it's like Allah is acknowledging the reality of that which actually took place. And it's just such a powerful lesson in that, is that if Allah, the King of Kings, He's acknowledging something that His enemy did, and it was a reality, then why do we reject realities all day, every day? Even if they might go against us or might not be in our favor to mention, right? Another thing that he mentioned, Allah, powerful. He talks about the concept of insaf, being fair. He said, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about the people's hearts being hard, the hearts of the people being hard, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said that their hearts are like كالحجارة أو أشد قسوة. Their hearts are like stones. And some of their hearts are harder than stones. He said something powerful. He said, Allah said, كالحجارة, الحجارة. The alif lam means that you're not saying all of the stones, but you're specifying, right? You're specifying because not all of the stones are hard, right? So you're talking about the stones which are hard. Their hearts are hard like stones that are hard, because not all stones are hard. You get sedimentary rocks and other types of rocks that are very brittle, and they break very easily. So he was like, look at the justice in the Quran, that Allah Azza wa Jal didn't even generalize with regards to rocks. So how do we generalize? And then it's funny because he's an Islamic author, it's spirit of knowledge. But then he quotes Mark Twain in Arabic, and he said, Mark Twain said, all generalizations are bad, even this one. Because in that statement is a generalization to say all generalizations are bad. It's a very, very interesting book. Another point he mentions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He told the children of Israel to slaughter a cow, and they kept asking questions. And then the third time they said, ask Allah to tell us, what is this cow? The third time. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explained, it's baqaratun لا دلول تثير الأرض ولا تسقي الحرث مسلمة لا شية فيها. It's a cow. It doesn't do any work. Basically, it does no work. It doesn't carry anything. It's not used to water the earth. Now, he took up, like, you hear that story and you think about something else, right? You think about something else, which is that apparent. Look at the secret that he pulled from here. He said that cow was owned by someone. Right? Eventually, because the way that the story goes, that cow was owned by someone, and it was like, if you want to buy the cow, you got to give me the cow's weight in gold, right? Something along those lines. So he became very rich overnight, the boy, right? So, deep it, yeah? He had a cow that did no work. Like, a lot of the times you would think that something that you've been given, a wife, a child, maybe a skill, a blessing, that maybe you don't see it as something that's very beneficial. You think it's something that's a waste. But don't lose hope, because it could be that thing that Allah provided for you, that from one angle it seems like this is not beneficial, but from another angle, it's a thing that's going to make you rich. From another angle, it's going to bring you so much khair. For example, you might have a wife, and you know, فَإِن كَرِهْتُهُنَّ فَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُوا شَيْئًا. Maybe you dislike something in her. وَيَجْعَلُ اللَّهُ فِيهِ خَيْرًا كَثِيرًا. But Allah Azza wa Jalla has placed so much good inside of her. From another angle, maybe it's the kid that comes from this relationship that you didn't enjoy so much, but the kid that comes from it is going to be beautiful, it's going to be amazing. Maybe you wanted your kid to be a certain way, but actually that kid, Allah gave him another gift, right? Same way with your business. It's like you want to go in one direction, and the thing that you thought least importance, the thing that you gave least amount of importance to, actually became the thing that was most beneficial, most successful, the most successful part of your business. Happens a lot. And a lot of times it happens with skills that we have. It's like, bro, you have a skill and you don't think much of it. But actually that skill is the one that people pay you lots of money for. That skill is the one that you can monetize. That, for example, I did not know that people pay me so much money to help them with their social media strategies. And for me, it was just like, I just know how to use social media. So that was powerful. The last one I mentioned to you. So his point was, don't lose hope. The last one I mentioned to you, this one hit me deep. Like when I read this one, I smiled and put the book down. And I smiled, not a smile of like joy or happiness, but a smile of like, Imran, you ace, man. He told the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, right? وإذ قال إبراهيم قال إبراهيم نعم was when Ibrahim said وإذ قال إبراهيم لربه أرني كيف تحيي الموتى. When Ibrahim said, Ya Allah, show me how you bring the dead back to life. And Allah said to him, قال أولم يؤمن? Do you not believe? قال بلى. He said, of course I believe, Ya Rabb. ولكن ليطمئن قلبي. But I want my heart to find contentment. I want to increase in my certainty. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to him, take 4 birds and basically slaughter them and cut up their body pieces and put them on the mountain peak of different mountains, right? And then Allah was going to show him in front of his own eyes how he brings them all back to life. So that's what we take from the story, right? That's the apparent, which is of course the point, but there's something deeper. He was like, have you ever considered Ibrahim alayhi salam climbed mountains just to please Allah? He's like you read it and it's easy, but bro, mountain, do you know what it's like to climb a mountain? Not one, but multiple. So Allah told him, slaughter the birds and place their body parts on different mountains. So he's gone to several mountains. He goes, the story mentions that there was 6 or 7 mountains that it said, 7 mountains. And not only that, he said, if you look at the mountains based on some of the encyclopedias, how tall they were, there are 600 meters plus. So he goes, altogether, we're talking, he climbed over 4,000 meters. So he said, deep this. Ibrahim, and this is the point here, we're going to end on this. Ibrahim alayhi salam climbed 4,000 mountains so he could find tranquility and certainty and please his Lord. But me and you can't even travel just down the road to the masjid to pray salah or to the lesson that we know we should turn up to, or the little thing that we know is going to please Allah. You're here as a Prophet of Allah climbing 4,000 meters plus just to earn the pleasure of his Lord. So yeah, good book, very nice, Alam Varik, lovely to be honest. And Yeah, gems, man. And then he goes into how to like personal development. But it's funny because the personal development he starts with, it's not just what you and I would consider as personal development. Like he goes into that stuff as well, but he starts with istighfar, like how to improve in terms of sins and manners. And you was talking about relationships, how to improve relationships with your wife, with your daughter, with your family. And then he's got a section on strategy. So yeah, it's a new book, and I'm going to be sharing a lot of gems with you guys from it, inshallah ta'ala. There's a lot of stuff in the Arabic language, man, that suffices us from a lot of the stuff in English. And yeah, just keep it locked and loaded, man. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum.